There we go. So, hey, welcome to the show, Brianna Wu. How you doing, Brianna?
Yeah, I'm feeling it's been a very stressful week with the election, so I'm trying my best to not freak out. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, okay. Well, you are the executive director of at Rebellion PAC, former candidate for U.S. House in Massachusetts. Massachusetts. I'm sorry. Stop.
Massachusetts.
I can never say that right. It's like
You
my
can
last
just say
name.
massholes. That's okay too.
Software engineer, lover of dogs, cars, and pinball. Right.
Porsche specifically. All my
Oh,
love is for Porsche. You know, you get to American cars, maybe a little less. Got some love for the Italians, but primarily Porsche.
okay. What about Volkswagen? Anything for Volkswagen?
Oh, I restored an Audi TT 8N, which was the first generation Audi TT, which is essentially a Volkswagen Golf. It was not a good experience, and I will never buy another Volkswagen. So,
I have a out there. My first car that I ever purchased fully was a 2006 Volkswagen Jetta, a
okay,
TDI,
okay,
and I
yeah.
love it. I love how powerful it is. It's a manual transmission, so
Hell yeah.
yeah, I love driving that
All right. A
thing.
Jetta, that is a legit choice. I respect you as a car person. We can be friends now.
Oh, so don't respect me yet because I don't know a lick about cars. My sister got all that stuff.
If
I
you're driving a Jetta, that's a legit choice. It's fast, it's manual, it's cool. I think it's hard to work on, but it shows you got taste.
oh well, thank you. That's high praise coming from you. I really do appreciate that.
Of course.
I was gonna say Wu, but you're
Woo!
not Asian. How dare you take that name, Wu?
You know, I met a man and I fell in love with him and I married him and I took his last name. Like, I think, what is it, 80% of women do?
Yeah,
And that's literally all there is to it. To be honest, if I had known at the time all the hell it was going to cause for me professionally, I might have thought a little harder about it.
no, I just think that's hilarious that a lot
Isn't
of
it
people.
crazy? Why would people attack me about this?
I have no idea. But then again, the internet is very polarizing for some reason when it comes to you. I know I follow you on X or Twitter, whatever it's called, and the opinions you share seem to me at least very logical. Whether it's on cars, trans rights, pinballs, politics, why are people on the internet so polarizing to your comments or opinions?
I don't know. I think there is a quality. Hold on, I'm
Hmm.
recording. Yeah, that's fine. Bring that here. Sorry. Thanks, sweetie. My lovely husband's bringing me some water if I need it
Oh,
during this
sweet.
interview. No, I think there's something about me that just I. It's almost a blindness with how I say things sometimes, and it just pisses people off. And I don't know how to change that. So I guess I've just kind of had to accept it. It's kind of my personality.
it's
I
so
mean, you
it's just
probably know
you.
more than I do. Yeah. Why do you think?
I don't know. It's just you being you. There's no kayfabe character at all. That's just you being you.
What is a kayfabe
Oh,
character?
I'm sorry. Like in wrestling where they have like fake wrestlers. Is
So this is what people don't understand about me, and I understand. Like, I think there's a difference with the younger generation that y'all grew up inherently on social media. And I think that anyone under 40 was kind of born with having to create like a online persona to
Mhm.
essentially be your hashtag brand. And I think carefully titrating your opinions is part of that. For me, I come from a generation where we didn't have social media growing up. And from my point of view, I grew up in Mississippi where I was really expected to be a very specific thing. And it just wasn't a good fit for me. And I actually took a lot of, I took a lot of pride in being myself. And there's a line in V for Vendetta, like this 1 centimeter of yourself that's true that you can't give up. And I actually think about that a lot. So no, it's not an act. I am the person you see online, someone that's like a little spicy, has poor judgment at times, that is genuinely geeky about cars, pinball, and politics.
And I see the whole like Gaza and Palestinian war
Yeah.
going on. I'm more on the side of Israel just because I know
Yeah.
one of my friends lives in Israel. Seems like a real nice guy. He's really into rabbits, so I'm just all about Israel. Do you think citizens in the U.S. are so split on legit who the good guys and bad guys are,
Nope.
and why is the government so split on it too?
Well, I think there are two questions here. I think poll after poll shows that the American people want support for Israel. So I think that's a settled issue. I think, unfortunately, the fringe left in this country has wrapped their political identity up in this Palestinian cause, which I think for some people it is with good intentions. But I think for others, it is literally excusing a political project to destroy Israel and to genocide or ethnically cleanse 7 million Jews there. And I think they're not being honest about that. So I think what you're seeing is actually this unholy alliance between Islamicists and the fringe left and white supremacists. So I think that is what you were seeing.
Yeah, and it's getting complicated when you're seeing even in the streets alliances between what is it, the LBGTQ and the Palestinians when they should be mortal enemies, I imagine.
That's a great decision, right? Like, oh my God. Have you seen the viral video of someone trans showing up for a Palestine rally and like a woman there being like, excuse me, we don't want you here. You're bad for our cause, and them nearly getting hate crimed. It is something to watch.
This world's insane. It's so chaotic. I don't know. That's just the light way of putting it. Would you consider yourself part of this current trans community? Even
No,
though
I think I'm just kind of watching from the sidelines, kind of in horror. So they're going to do their thing. I mean,
yeah,
I would like to see it get back to a public policy perspective that makes sense. And, Aunt Brianna will, shepherd things along as best as I can. But, yeah, I care about the trans community, obviously. But I think they are on a different political project currently. Like,
mhm.
abolish gender. This is not a mission objective that makes sense to me. I do not understand this.
And the choices right now politically between Trump, Biden, RFK, and his brainworm. Um, who do you believe could run this country right now? Not necessarily
Oh,
those two dudes, right? Because it's just an illusion of choice. But any person or religion or cult celebrity, do you think anyone else could run it better right now?
oh God, I think almost anyone could run it better. I've, I know it upsets people when I say this. I think Biden has evidenced some behavior that would, if I were serving in his cabinet, make me consider the 25th Amendment. I personally don't know how he can lead another 4 years. And I think on the other side, you have, Donald Trump. I know no one in this country's read the indictment, but he tried to insurrect the government on January 6th, and lined up this fake elector scheme to submit fake elector, to cheat the electoral college in, I believe, 7 states. And to me, this whole project is so fundamentally anti-democratic. I can't support that. And RFK is just an anti-Semite. So, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
I'm going to vote Team Democrat because I'm a Democrat. But it's. I wish we'd had a different primary this year.
no, it is a tough choice, and again, it just feels like an illusion. And then even more with the electoral college, it feels even more like an illusion, at least to me.
So I want to come back to this. Like, what do you think of this trans political project to like say gender doesn't exist and like try to claim that in sports there's no difference between men and women? I mean, how does this strike you? It seems a little nuts from my point of view.
Well, I mean, yes, I'm a male, but I have two nieces,
Yeah,
and it makes me feel like when I see the stories, and no telling how true they are or not, because you know how the media is. But you know, when a woman loses a scholarship
yeah.
to a male, and they're losing them to males because they
Well,
just
I wouldn't call them a
choose.
male. I would say it's a trans woman.
Oh,
Let's be
m-
respectful here.
my bad. So
Sure.
they're losing it to a trans woman, and you know, it seems like it's happening more and more, and that just makes it unfair because you're saying you want more rights for women on one page, and then suddenly men become trans women, and then now it's sort of like going to three lefts to take a right instead of, I don't know.
Well, I
It's
don't
a
think
little.
it's sudden. I mean, to be fair, if you go on not puberty blockers, if you go on androgen suppressors, and you take estrogen, like you're going to lose a ton of muscle mass. You're going to lose the majority of those advantages. Some are going to remain, though. What I think gives away this conversation, in my view, is there's no discussion about the disadvantages that trans women would face
Mm,
in this situation. All Olympic athletes are training from a very, very young age. They have coaches from a young age. They have sponsorships, and typically those are the years that trans women are dealing with depression and fighting suicidal ideation. So I don't think it's fair to say, like, I always find this argument that a trans woman is going to, take a pill and then magically change. I don't find that compelling. But at the same time, it's like you can look at the polls in every single step of the way. Like the American public is down with trans people having access to education, having access to housing, generally not facing employment discrimination, serving in the military. They're there on every single one of those issues. But when you get to sports, they're not there. And to me, it just seems like a civil society requires you to balance competing interests, right? You've got biological women and their need to, have categories of stuff to compete in. And then you've got trans women and the rights to the public commons. So I just think that I think that there's some compromise that that could be done here.
no, definitely. Like when MMA fighters, they have weight classes.
100%.
Yeah, you could definitely have something like that. And you know, seeing the stories I do too about like in Canada, where if a younger child says they want to be this gender, then the parent, you know, might not have rights anymore. They,
I've
you know,
never
they.
seen that substantiated, to be clear.
Okay,
If you have,
okay.
please send that to me. I've never
I
seen that reported out by someone I consider reputable.
Okay. Well, I've seen that. Well, then let's not go that way. But I'll see. Like I had my one of my relatives' friends, their daughter. She's like, "Oh, I like rainbows. Oh, you must be trans. That's you know." And it was like, "Oh, okay. I don't think you need to go that far. You know,
Yeah.
with trying to push that onto your child or the way it's going at the moment with children's books or teachers in schools, you know. But then again, I could just be on a different algorithm as
No,
far.
I don't disagree with that. I think we're dealing, Abigail Schreier, I something I think makes me good at my job is I've never been afraid to read information that I've disagreed with. And Abigail Schreier had a book that came out called Irreversible Damage, and it was about female to male transgender children. And I went into this thinking, oh, this is going to be a bunch of right wing nonsense. I'm probably going to disagree with all of this. And she actually had some really compelling arguments there for social contagion and just the standards like the DSM standards for transitioning not really being met that I found just tremendously compelling. So I think if you're serious about public policy, what I want is public policy that's based on science and really looks at those questions honestly, not like coming to a conclusion, whether that's pro trans or anti trans, but really looking at this, figuring out what is going to serve the patient and putting that into public policy. And I think the explosion of this female to male underage cohort, to me that signifies that maybe this expansion in the way that we've defined it might be serving the community poorly. If you're inventing a new surgery, one of the very first things you do is you have to define your patient cohort very strictly. And I think that unfortunately activism is affecting the way that we are making those assessments.
Well, yeah, and especially I also see the ideas, and I don't know how true they might be with the surgeries and how they're making a lot of money with, you know.
I don't think that's really true.
Okay.
Well, let me give you an example. Like
Mhm.
estradiol, there's a lot of people that say HRT is a big pharma ploy. And it's like, I urge you to go look into this. Estradiol was like HRT for trans women. It was invented in the 23rd, in 1930, I believe. It has been generic since the 80s. And like, there's a big market for it because a bunch of postmenopausal women take it, right? Like, it's an ultra cheap drug. Like, there's just no like argument that this is like it's a rounding error as a profit center. So I don't know if I really agree with that.
Okay. And about the whole idea that it's like more of a mental health issue than a trans sort of.
What do you mean?
I'd say, like, do you think if we had more opportunities, well, we do have a lot now, especially since back when, in the days when mental health was I guess not as open to everyone, right? You couldn't just talk space or all those remote places. But now, do you think with the internet and the like mental health issues, do you think that has anything to do with the how trans people are more popping up, or is it still
Well,
they've always just kind of been there?
two things. I think it is simply true that the generation right now that's about 20 to 50, 15 to 20, they have the worst mental health of any generation in that we've ever measured it. This is just a fact. I urge you to go look it up. And there's actually a crisis of a lack of healthcare providers to help them. They're seeing
Mhm.
social anxiety, they're seeing depression. So there's just a general like underlying issue of poor mental health, primarily due to COVID and social media that we just have never had a national public policy strategy for. I think the other part of it, unfortunately, is we are not following the standards in what you call the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. There's a page in there, and anyone in your audience can go look it up. It's called Gender Dysphoria. It's not a particularly complicated set of criteria. It's like, wants to be the other gender for a period of more than 6 months, stuff like that. And even those very lukewarm standards are not being applied. You can go to a Planned Parenthood, an organization I enthusiastically support, and just say, I'm trans, and they will do the informed consent model rather than, seeing if you meet these standards. So I think this mixture of poor mental health with this ultra loosey definition of who is trans, I think it's led to an expansion of the cohort that is unfortunately going to lead to a lot of these kids detransitioning.
Do you believe it could be like a religion a religion problem? No. Do you think the world needs more religion? Are you a religious person yourself?
I
Do you
am.
believe any
I
sort of
keep it out of
gods?
my public role. I'm just Presbyterian enough to think that that's my business and nobody else's. Let me ask you this: have there ever been times in your life for you as a man where you found that gender role constricting or painful or difficult for you? Like, have you ever wanted to, I don't know, like play with girl toys, or like do you find being a man inconvenient sometimes?
I I subscribe to the idea that I am asexual, where
Hmm.
I've been with a woman and have never wanted to, I guess, go like all the way. Like
Sure.
I don't mind doing what would you call it? First base, second base, third base, and then you get to fourth base, and I'm like, no, this is kind of weird to me.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So I've stopped. I've like the times on my hand that I've gone to that opportunity, I've stopped, and I'm like, no, I don't feel comfortable now.
So there's a social expectation that men, if you are a man, that you're going to pursue women sexually. So is that what you're saying? That you sometimes find that to be a little frustrating?
Yeah, where it's like, oh, are you a virgin, or how many women have you
Yeah.
boinked or smashed or whatever, and of
Smash?
course,
Do we still say that? I don't know.
in my days we would say
Back
smash.
in my day.
And yeah, I've felt a little with that, where it's like, well, why don't I feel this way? Am I gay? I've had those thoughts, because I never wanted to go so far, or I've only wanted to like pleasure the woman and not really
Sure.
care about pleasure myself. And then I found that community, and I was like, oh, this exists.
That makes a
So
lot of sense.
yeah, so I have like seen benefit in there being communities that just I wonder, because I grew up real religious,
Mhm.
and that kind of made me think, well, is there something wrong with me? Am I gay? Am I, you know?
So, as I understand, and I'll return to my point in a second, but as I understand the DSM, asexuality is only a disorder if it causes distress in the patient and they want to change it. That's correct, isn't it?
That sounds about right.
Yeah,
But I've never felt like I mean, I have other issues, don't get me wrong,
mhm,
like other mental issues, but that is never, I've never like, oh, that I accept that. Never mind. That's
sure.
fine. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Sure, that makes it sounds normal to me. I guess what I would come back to is like you're talking about an experience of being a man that you might find annoying or painful. And yeah, for me, I could list 100 things I find about being a woman in the world just incredibly irritating, right?
Mhm.
Getting talked over in meetings, yeah, I'm out yesterday just running errands. Some dude is trying to pick me up. My husband's right there. That pisses me off. Like, there's just like all of that. But I think if you're asking if transgenderism is a religion, what I think is happening is if you look at the DSM, some natural frustration with traditional gender roles is just natural. It's the most normal experience in the world. I think all of us experience this from time to time. And I think what is happening is I think we've almost made heterosexual cis coded like such a I think we've like made queerness such a shortcut to authenticity that I think I don't know. I think there's a group of people out there that are feeling these normal feelings about frustration, and they're asking themselves if they're trans. When, if you really go and look at the DSM and go, okay, let's go through these 6 criteria. Do you meet these? That answer would be no. And I
Mhm.
think, unfortunately, we're medicalizing for some of these patients what is a very normal thing. Now, I have to say, on the other end, there is a political project to deny children health care when they very, very, very much fit those 6 criteria, and they're going to feel suicidal ideation if they don't get some help, and that's also not in the public interest. So what I think really gives the game away is when people are talking out one side of that and they don't talk out the other. That's how you know they're not interested in an honest project in public policy. And I mean that for both trans and anti-trans people.
No, that definitely sounds logical as
Yeah.
far as the argument. Now, what's what's the best car you've ever driven in your life?
Oh man, it's gotta be the Lotus Elise. Oh my god, have you ever driven one of these?
No, that sounds like a insect.
Okay, so Lotus Elise is, I believe it's a 2,000 pound car. If you type
Ooh.
in Porsche Boxster, you'll see a picture of my little Porsche Boxster and her Porsche Boxster 986, and you'll see that it's a 2,800 pound car. A Lotus Elise is about that size and weighs, I believe, about 2,000 pounds. So it's about a third as light and it's just as powerful. It is so much fun. So much fun to drive. It is tiny and uncomfortable, but it is a manual gearbox and it just skates around corners. Oh my god, I love it so much.
Oh man, what's your dream car to have or own?
Woo! Within reason or not within reason?
Not within reason, whichever one you could say pick.
So one of the reasons I keep working is I keep in mind like a car I want to work towards. So my current goal, the reason why I keep working so hard, is I want to have a Singer 911. So a Singer 911 is it is what we call a resto mod of a classic Porsche 964. So they take a car that came out, I believe it was from 1988 to 1994. They pull all the sound deadening out of it, pull the engine out, take the interior and put it together with best, and turn it into this wonderful, magical car. And I dream one day of affording one of these. Unfortunately, they are $1 million, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and maybe I'll get a really good job at one point.
I'll say a million doesn't sound too out of reach anymore. I don't know.
I'll
It
sell
does and it
my
doesn't.
house and just live in my Singer. It'll be great.
What advice would you give to anyone wanting a successful relationship? I know every time I see you and your man, he's
Oh,
always cheering. He's always like this. Would you say happy wife, happy life?
I
What would
think
you
that, I really appreciate you asking me this because I see so many people talking smack about marriage, and marriage is one of the best things I've ever done. So, yeah, the thing about marriage is it goes in phases. And there are sometimes that, the marriage is more about me. And there are sometimes it's more about my husband. So I think just really always loving the other person. And even if you make a mistake, or even if it's a time period where you're selfish, just understanding you can't take that relationship for granted and you need to love them and respect them. I think that's incredibly important, if that makes sense.
No, it does. That's beautiful. No,
Yeah,
I
I'm
definitely
gonna
see
go.
that.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Oh no, that's fine. Um, what's the coolest pinball machine you own?
All right, so I have 10 pinball machines. Um, God, that's so hard to say. Like the one I'm proudest of, or the one that I think is the most fun to play?
What's the most fun to play?
If I could only pick one game in my house to keep, it would be Godzilla. Yeah, that's an obvious choice because everyone agrees Godzilla is the best game ever made. And you can go buy one new right now. But I would say that's the best game. The most like unusual pick I would say for that is a game called Venom.
Mhm.
It just came out. It sold ultra poorly, but Venom is basically a roguelike that they turned into a pinball game. So every
Oh
single
wow.
time you die, you become more powerful. And if you just keep playing the game enough, you will beat it. So I really love that game a lot. It is really fun to play.
Do you ever have nightmares of being trapped inside of a pinball machine?
I can't say I've had that one. I can't say I've had that one. But just one more shout out about a pinball machine I have.
Yeah.
I think it was from what year was that? Was it 2005? There's a game I have from 2005, and it is called 24. 24 is my jam. I love 24, the TV show. Oh my god, I love this show. Like it
Mm.
is 100% my speed. Like someone standing up to save the country and doing whatever it takes. I just, oh god, I love that plot line. So, so Stern at this time was nearly bankrupt, and they made this game called Stern 24 Pinball. It was designed by the same guy that did one of the most famous tables ever made, which is Star Trek TNG. And they put it out. It only sold, I believe, 400 copies. And I looked and looked and looked and looked, and I got a copy of it. So down in my basement is one of the rarest games made by Stern in all of history. So I'm so proud to have that.
Wow. And that's a full pinball machine right there.
Oh, it's
You're
great.
referring to the game.
It's great. Do you like 24? What kind of TV do you like?
Yeah, well, I've been watching a lot of The Walking Dead since there's
Okay, fair
so
enough.
much to watch. But 24, I remember when that was a big show for a while.
Oh, 100%.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
think it's one of the best shows ever made. 24 season 7 is excellent. Live Another Day is the best 12 episodes of television, I think, in history. Yeah, I did a film that Galen Hurd produced, who is also the producer of Walking Dead. She did Terminator and Aliens, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm so proud to have gotten to know her a bit and consider her a friend from that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she's really cool.
Finally, do you think our country is doomed?
Nope.
What is going to kill it, or what can
Nope.
save it?
Look,
Nope.
this is exactly like 24. This is, another one of my favorite movies is Zero Dark 30. And there's this really great scene there where this guy comes in, he slams a folder down on a desk. He's like, just in case you thought there was some working group on some other floor trying to kill bin Laden, there's not. It's just us. And that is exactly the moment we're in right here with our democracy. There's no one coming to save the day. There's just us. The Democratic Party, in my view, has shown itself to have a lack of guts to do the right thing. So I think what all of us right now, and what I hope every one of your listeners will do, is commit yourself to our democratic principles. I think we need to turn down the temperature. I think we need to start talking to the other side more with respect. I think we need to denounce violence. And I think it's time for us to triple down on these democratic principles. It's really frustrating to me that every time I start talking about my frustrations with the fringe left, people just want to yell at the Republicans. And don't get me wrong, I don't like the Republicans. I don't share their politics. I think they are bad for democracy in a lot of ways. But it's also true that yelling at them is not getting us anywhere as a country, which is why I've really made an effort in the last year to talk to them more. So I think the heroes we're looking for are in the mirror. And I hope everyone we talk to will step up and do their part.
No, and I hope so too. And again, I want to thank you so much for your time.
Of course.
Yeah, everyone can find you. I know on at least X or Twitter at Brianna Wu. If you
That's
have
me.
anywhere else they could find you,
I do a show with Counterpoints. It's called Counterfire on YouTube. We are live every single Wednesday usually around 6:30. He's a conservative. I'm a liberal, and we talk about stuff respectfully. He's a former cop. He served his country in the Marines, and I don't agree with him on much politically, but we try to have these kinds of conversations.
well, that's great, and I appreciate your time. And
Of course. I got to ask before I jumped off, what made you want to invite me on today?
I don't know. I just love your takes on things, and and then I just see everyone like bombarding you with, oh, you don't know anything or this or that, or there's no like logical argument to what you say. So it's just like, why don't you try and talk to her instead of just saying, oh, you're lying about your last name, you're not Asian, oh, you're not this, you're not. And it's like, okay, and like, where's your argument though?
Yeah, I do my eyeliner to give a little sweep on the edges of my eyes, and maybe that's what they're thinking about.
No, and again, it's I like to know more about all this. I never say I know everything, and I enjoy learning something new every day or something more about what I think. And you really like helped me open up on certain issues. You know.
Of course, of course. We'll have to do it again. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. Well, everyone, thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.